listening to the Front Porch Show. Some shows are niche shows, talking about specific topics. Others, shows about nothing. This show is the show about everything. On the Front Porch Show, we'll talk about current events, some news, a little bit of politics, along with a whole lot of life. Welcome to our Front Porch. Hey, we are back. You're listening again to the Front Porch Show. 1-402-799-1811. It's a light crew tonight. Very light crew.
Light crude?
Light crude.
Like oil?
Like oil, yeah. Well, careful. We might get invaded. But
that was rough.
It was bad.
It's a light crew tonight, but it is the best of us.
It is. I think for the topics at hand, we have the best crew possible.
Although Tombstone will definitely be lacking.
It's true. It's true.
His deep cultural insight will be lacking.
Yeah, Ozzy's on vacation this week. Tombstone had
no loss there. No loss.
Tombstone had an impromptu visit by some family members for the week. So he found out that he was going to be out and is spending time with them. So that's awesome.
Looks like he's getting some remodel done though.
He is.
The office.
So if you remember, that office was where he was supposed to be like a year and a half ago, and he would always complain that it was too hot out in the sunroom. Where he was typically recording. And, well, he's going to have an office now with air conditioning.
That will be nice.
So, yeah.
Just in time for winter.
There we go. Jeff, finally, I got out hunting yesterday.
I hate you.
I'm sorry. It was not with my bow. It was the first day of rifle season here in Nebraska.
What day was the first day for you guys?
Yesterday. So the
16th?
16th of November.
So 15th was the first for us.
Yeah, so we have an 8-day season.
I was not there.
8-day season.
Ooh, ours is at least 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know. They give us a short window. And so, I hunt public land, and that presents itself with its own challenges.
It's rough. Public land hunting is some rough hunting.
You have to know what you're doing in it if you're out there. And so I head out to my secret location that I had staked out last year.
Which disclaimer, we're not sure that Mathis knows what he's doing. So
well, maybe not.
When he says you have to know, when he says you have to know what you're doing to hunt public land, well, this story might show.
Well, yeah, good point. Good point. So
you head out to your secret location.
I head out to my secret location, and when I pull in, I'm a little bit late because I forgot my wallet in the house, and then I went into the house to find it, and it actually wasn't in the house. It was already in my backpack. It was a rough morning, and so I get out there and I start hiking out. Now, if you remember from last year, my spot out in the woods is about a mile in. And so I hike down a bunch of trails.
This guy traipsing through the woods.
I'm quiet. I'm very quiet.
During shooting light.
And there's fields and stuff surrounding it. So it's a very leisurely walk, and it's a mowed path. So it's nice. And so I'm hauling out there, and I see two guys in a tree over to my right, grunting already. It's before shooting light, okay? And they're already grunting.
I'm just thinking it's a good thing Osmond's not here.
And I know. And I turn to my left, and there's two other guys about 300 yards away up in a tree. And so I keep walking, and I'm like, well, I wonder where all these other folks are hiding.
So was this at your spot where these guys were all within view of?
No.
Or this was just on your way to your spot?
I get to my spot, and I was planning on going just barely to the hardwoods where I normally park. And I had a place picked out. The wind would have been perfect. It would have been a great spot for the hardwood hunting. And so there's a guy sitting in the tree next to where I normally sit. And I'm like, okay.
Because you just sit.
I just ground sit. Because public land, I don't want to lose a stand.
Yeah.
And so I talk to him, whisper to him is more like it. And I'm like, hey, you got do you know if anyone else is in deeper? And he's like, oh, yeah. My buddy's in there, ground sitting. And I'm like, okay. And so I hike in there and I see him. He's ground sitting. And I'm like, okay, no problem. I'll walk past him. I clear him by like 100 yards. And I end up going to, I end up hiking a little bit further and dropping my sled off next to a tree because I walk in with a sled to haul out the deer. And I go in deeper and I'm about to sit on a log and a guy whistles at me from 15 feet above my head.
Which is always disturbing when a guy whistles at you.
I know. Cat calling in the woods, I tell you. It was like Deliverance. Anyways.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm like,
Where's
well.
the story going?
So I left my sled and I kept walking because it was like 50 yards behind me. I keep walking and I find a spot just to the north. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll sit in here. No problem. And so I sit down and I'm parked there for about an hour and a half and I start hearing some noises off behind me. And so I grunt a little bit. This is well after shooting time. This is probably around 8 o'clock in the morning. I grunt a few times, wait 15, 20 minutes, use my rattle pack.
For the listeners that are confused by the grunting that's been brought up a couple times.
This is buck grunting.
It's a buck grunt. It's a deer call.
It's kind of it's to bring all the bucks to the yard, if you know what I mean.
Well, that would be the doe. That would be the
right,
doe bleat.
That's
actually.
true. That's the doe bleat.
The buck grunt is more like a challenge to get other bucks to come in because they think a buck is encroaching on their territory.
So that was my plan. My plan was to call it in. So around 8 o'clock or so, I stand up because I'm sore. I'm sitting on a log. It's just my butt's hurting me. Not cool. And so I stand up, look around. Lo and behold, I see a guy less than probably 20 yards from me up in a tree. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So the funniest thing is he's up in a tree in a lawn chair. And I'm
on like a stand?
Yeah, like he had this like makeshift stand that he had in there. And it's up on a lawn chair.
Okay.
And so I'm like, okay. Well, this is different. But so I'm like, what in the world? And I kind of threw up my arms and shook my head. And he's like, no, sit. And so I'm like, oh, okay, I'll stay. Because from where
how are you going to decide who shoots the deer?
From where he was at, he had clear shooting of an open area. I had clear shooting of an open area in the trees, and he would not have been able to shoot anything through the bushes.
Gotcha. So you kind of were divided, facing different directions.
We were divided. He was kind of facing all directions, but he did not have an optimal shot to where I was.
Gotcha.
And so we were like, okay, and I obviously wasn't going to intrude on a buck if it came in on him, right? And so about 9:30,
see it first, shoot it first.
Well, good point. About 9:30,
public land, baby.
Survival of the fittest. And so it's mutiny out there, man.
That's right.
And so about 9:30, I guess, he climbs down out of the tree, walks his way over to me and hands me an apple. And I'm like, okay. Is it
Don't eat it.
Poisoned?
Don't eat it.
Are there razor blades in it? I don't know. This is weird. And anyways, he introduces himself. I still don't know.
Say he had candy back in his truck.
No, he didn't.
Okay.
He said he was freezing though, and he was getting out of there because it was too cold. And it's like 40 degrees with wind. So it was cool.
What?
It was cool. He had a sweatshirt on. That's all he had on.
Oh, so he was
camo pants. I don't know any other layers. He had an awesome lever action rifle though. It was pretty cool. It looked like a 44 Magnum, which was pretty sweet. Anyways, so
can you hunt with pistol rounds there?
Yeah. Oh yeah. As long as it's got over 500 foot-pounds or whatever they call that.
Okay.
However that rating is. So yeah, you can't shoot with like 22 long rifle, but you can shoot with 223. I think 223 is the minimum. So anyways, so I talked to him. I'm parked out there. I decide I'm hearing gunshots all around me. It's terrible. I decide, I'm gonna hike out after I see a little tiny buckling, little button buck out about 80 yards from me. He doesn't even see me. He stands around for like 20 minutes just chilling. And so after he jetted out, I'm like, well, I'm gonna move locations. I'm just gonna take a peek around, see what I can find. And so I head back around. I see the guy up in the tree, and he's cutting up 3 deer.
The guy that was sitting right
the
next
guy
to you
who
in
was
the tree?
No, the guy who was sitting up in the tree stand and whistled at me. My cat
your original
collar.
spot.
Yeah, my
in
cat
your original
collar.
spot. Okay.
And so I hike around. I found a clearing where they've all been bedding down, and I hike around a little bit more and decide to finally sit on another tree. I hear this thrash in the bushes. Jeff, this is about 4:30. I hear a thrash in the bushes. I hear guys yelling in an Asian dialect. Now, if you guys remember the show last year, I mentioned my Asian compatriots who came up from Omaha and were hunting these woods.
I'm still confused.
I don't know why they're there. I don't know why they're hunting. They were yelling last year, why can't we find any deer? And they asked me, they accosted me as I was leaving one day and was like, we haven't seen a single deer since we've been here. And I'm like, it's because you're thrashing through the woods.
Did you actually tell them that?
No, of course not. Of course not. So anyways, they were thrashing through the woods and they flushed up 2 doe at me. And so from 100 yards away, these 2 doe start running at me at high speed. I mean, when they're running.
Yeah.
And good grief, they're fast. And I notice the second one is bigger. And so I raise up my gun and I'm about to shoot the second one. And they're straight at me. By the time I had my sights on the second one, the first one was about 10 yards away and made me, so obviously.
You should have just punched it at that point.
Pretty much. I could have taken my knife to her. And so as soon as she made me, she jumped. And the other one behind her jumped too. And I fired at exactly the same moment she jumped. I thought it was a bad shot, Jeff. I thought it was a bad shot. Until I got to
Was this all iron sight?
No, this
through a scope.
Was the worst part of all. It was a scope set on 7X.
Oh man!
And so she's coming at me. Yeah, I just saw a big patch of brown, and I'm like, I saw the front white of the belly, and like moved back a little bit, and was like, okay. And so she jumps and runs, and I'm like, oh man, I missed her. She like ducked my shot or something. I get over there and I see blood trail. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I got her. I hit her.
So you at least winged her.
I at least winged her. I get over to where I put some buck lure earlier in the day. About 100 yards, 50 to 100 yards away. And there she is laying there right next to the buck lure. And
no, that's got nothing to do with her. Like the lure didn't take her.
I don't know. Sure. I don't know if it took her over there, but she kind of turned around and was facing it. So I don't know if she thought she smelled a buck or something and spun around. Because remember, she was running, so she was full of adrenaline.
Yeah.
And so she's boogieing. She's boogieing hard. And I don't know if she like freaked out when she smelled it and stopped or something. Anyways, that's where she keeled over. So it was a good shot. I actually recovered the bullet, strangely enough, because it was a broadside from the front that took out the shoulder blade. And yeah, it was good. Hauled her out. It was about 1.5 miles. It sucked. It absolutely sucked.
That's a long way to haul a deer out. That's
terrible. On a sled, on grass.
Well, a sled's easier than just dragging it.
So we cut her up this morning, and now we're looking for some venison recipes.
Did you weigh it out? How much you got?
I assume she weighed around 150 pounds.
Before you gutted her?
Well, after I gutted her. After I gutted her. I think it was around 150. So decent sized deer.
You got some bone weight in
I figure it's probably around 100 or 75 pounds of meat.
All right.
So not bad.
Do you do a lot of ground, or do you do a lot of roasts?
We do a lot of steaks and roasts. A lot of steaks and roasts. Well, I actually have stuff from last year that I haven't ground yet, so all right. I'm going to grind it all together with this and turn it into sausage, I think.
Well, if you're looking to do something with some ground, I actually found an interesting recipe. I mean, really, you could do this with anything, but
Tell me more.
It's on a hunting website, so it happens to be with venison, but it is called deep fried barbecue venison and cheese pockets.
Wait, we're talking like fried ravioli, but with venison inside of them?
Well, no. So you're going to use like the egg roll or wonton wrappers.
Oh,
like
heaven
you
help
would
us.
use for like an egg roll or like crab cheese wontons. And essentially you take some of the ground venison, some cheese. Let's see, that looks like they recommend some Colby Jack cheese cut into cubes. They've got some barbecue sauce, some ginger, some garlic, and looks like some minced green onions. And
oh my goodness!
You mix up the onions and the garlic and the ground venison. You put that in these egg roll wrappers with some of the cheese that's cut up. Fold them on up, deep fry them, and you essentially are making your own like large hot pocket.
Oh, good grief! I'm in.
Venison and cheese and barbecue, and it also has some sort of peanut sauce that they have on here to make. I don't know that I would go.
I'm not into
sauce.
peanut sauce. That's a little weird.
No, I would do more of like a sweet and sour, or well, it says it's got barbecue to it, so do like a barbecue. I might skip out on the peanut sauce, but it looks amazing. So
looks absolutely incredible.
I think you need to try it out.
Hey, I'll give it a go. I'll post it on the website. Let's see what happens. Worst thing it can do is, not taste very good, but I anything fried, man.
You got to find a way to send it to me.
Right? On dry ice.
Yes.
It'll be there in a couple weeks, Jeff.
They deliver in other ways, but they want to deliver vast amounts of information over the internet. And again, the internet is not something that you just dump something on. It's not a big truck. It's a series of tubes. And if you don't understand, those tubes can be filled. And if they're filled, when you put your message in, it gets in line. It's going to be delayed by anyone that puts into that tube enormous amounts of material.
She's shocked that I picked her. Like in a state of shock.
I'm not thinking, Mr.
That's
President.
okay. I know you're not thinking. You never do.
I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
Jeff, it started this week.
Do we have to do this?
I got so much. I don't even know information, thoughts. I don't even know what to call it.
This is where we need Tombstone to help out. I know supposedly it's my area of expertise, but
Tombstone is an expert on the depths of chaos.
That might be a good way to put it.
I think you are more apt to analyze it in a very professional way.
Tombstone, yeah, he has some odd connections that he can somehow get to the shady behind the scenes levels where I don't go there. I try to avoid those connections. So I have to analyze it more from a face value.
It's a little bit too tinfoil hat for me.
Through principled lenses. Well, the trouble is we all need to pull out our Reynolds wrap and get some tinfoil hat going, because this is insane.
So without further ado, we are talking about the Trump impeachment hearings that started this week with the, I don't even know what their names are, the two main star witnesses who
on the first
started
day,
out on Tuesday?
Yeah, the first day it was William Taylor, who was the acting ambassador to Ukraine, and I believe the other guy's name was Kent. I think the last name was Kent, but I'd have to go back and look. There's been see, this is bad. This is how much I've blocked it out.
So regardless, they started this week testifying, and really what ended up happening by the end of the day is we didn't end up with any more information. We ended up with the Democrats hate Trump. Republicans are trying to not hate him as much as the Democrats, and some Republicans are just outright defending him. The funny thing that I notice is that as far as the media goes, you had the typical MSNBC, CNN, they were trying to destroy Trump and proving all these different cases where proving that, all these witnesses were right on everything and everything. But Fox wasn't too far behind on that, which kind of surprised me. It's almost like they were throwing him under the bus a little bit.
Well, here's the trouble. Like you said, this has been, first off, this all kicked off this week, all of a sudden, right after Pelosi all along has been preaching that impeachment should be taken seriously. When it's enacted, it should be bipartisan and it should be very clear to everyone that it should take place. It shouldn't be this partisan attack, whatever. That's the way she's been holding off her party's calls for impeachment. Because you remember, they've been calling for impeachment almost since the day after the election.
Since the day after the election when Hillary Clinton refused to concede the election because she believed it was an illegitimate win.
And even to this day, she's out there saying it's an illegitimate win because she won the popular vote. That is neither here nor there. The current system, whether you like it or not, and we can have an entirely different discussion about the Electoral College, but the game is you win the Electoral College. That's like saying you lost the football game, but you won time of possession. So it's not fair. The other team scored more points than you, even though you possessed the ball more. Well, the current set of rules says whoever scores more wins, even if they don't possess the ball longer. So if you want to change the rules, which unfortunately they're trying a backdoor way to do that in the last couple of years. But you've got them claiming that that's an issue. So now they want Trump's tax returns. Then it was Trump colluded with Russia. Then it was, even if he didn't collude with Russia, here is, supposedly these pictures of him wasn't it there was claims. It all went back to that Steele dossier. Some people claim that they had pictures of him in like a Russian whorehouse. And as it turns out, none of that was true. It was all fake. The Steele dossier was fake.
Right.
And he done and said other stupid things along the way, absolutely. But it's literally been a never-ending parade since the election results were announced.
Well, since day one, it's been, we need to get
him on something, and it's just been a string of thing after thing after thing. I mean, here's the deal. I don't want a president who is committing high crimes and misdemeanors and bribery and everything else.
No.
Okay. If someone's guilty, they should be charged.
But so here's the question.
The consequences.
Is he, from what we've seen so far, is he? Has he in this Ukraine situation, has he committed a crime?
So far, the claimed crime that's been committed is a quid pro quo.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
This for that. So it's an exchange. And so essentially the claim is he was going to withhold aid from Ukraine unless they investigated a natural gas company called Burisma, which has ties to Hunter Biden, which Hunter Biden knows nothing about this job.
All right, so Hunter
Biden is a total druggy loser. Okay,
so
he has not done much with his life.
Was a non-executive director for this Ukrainian gas company, making somewhere between $50,000 and $80,000 a month,
and he had no expertise in this area at all. He had nothing to do with this, and his dad just so happened to be the vice president and assigned to oversee things in Ukraine.
In his defense, there has nothing been found so far that shows impropriety between Joe Biden and Ukraine. Okay,
that may or may not be true, but there's some stuff I haven't had time to dig into.
I mean, granted, there are pictures with Joe Biden and the Ukrainian oil company executives, but as far as impropriety, as in was Joe working backroom deals with the Ukrainians? I don't know. It doesn't seem that way as of yet.
And so essentially, depending on who you want to believe, and you don't hear this a lot in the news, but to some extent, it's not just Joe Biden and his son and the money they might have been making off this deal with Ukraine. There was corruption going on in Ukraine with these companies and these kind of corrupt bureaucrats and companies making deals.
See, I think that's the
Burisma
bigger
was
issue.
one of them. And so there was some discussion between the Obama administration and Ukraine about supposedly trying to clean up this corruption. Now, this is where the claims also that Biden may have used his position to keep Ukraine from looking into the Burisma company, which is where his son was making the money. That's the stuff where we don't necessarily have proof of that right now. The point is, those were some of the claims there. So by the same token, Trump was looking into corruption in Ukraine, supposedly. And if you take it at face value, basically there had been a new election in Ukraine. The corrupt administration supposedly have been thrown out. The new president is in. They're trying to clean up some of the corruption in their bureaucracy. This is what Trump was supposedly elected on, drain the swamp here in the U.S., right? And that's supposedly some of the battle he's been fighting. So he calls up the minister to Ukraine, and he said, hey, he wants them to look into this corruption issue between U.S. companies, Ukrainian companies, and this Burisma thing, which also happens to include Joe Biden. The claims of the Democrats in this impeachment trial are that Trump tied the new Ukrainian regime from getting dirt on Biden. He tied that to aid dollars that were going to Ukraine.
Hold on. Because
that's where the quid pro quo.
If I understand Reuters properly, Reuters. I'm sorry, Reuters. I apologize. They came out with numerous articles where the president of Iran or president of Ukraine denied that there was ever a link in funding and security aid to Ukraine, and also the Ukraine's foreign minister. I think he's Pristako.
Yes, Vadim Pristako.
Yes, and they all said that the military aid was not at all.
And there seems to be evidence that the aid was released before any assurance of an investigation was given. And what it comes down to is a phone call that Trump had, where some of the language in the phone call, first of all, we know he talks like Donald from Queens, as Tombstone has so eloquently described over the years now. And essentially, it comes down to this one phone call. The trouble is everyone who supposedly has knowledge of this phone call and says that it was a quid pro quo, or we can look at this other article. You've noticed in the last week, the terminology has switched from quid pro quo to bribery, because essentially there was some polling done by the Democrats and they've changed the terminology they're using. Let's see, here we go. The Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee conducted a focus group in key House battleground states in recent weeks, testing messages related to impeachment. Among the questions put to participants was whether quid pro quo, extortion, or bribery was a more compelling description of Trump's conduct. According to two people familiar with the results, which circulated among Democrats this week, the focus groups found that bribery to be the most damning. The people spoke on condition of anonymity because the results have not been made public. So supposedly there was internal polling done by the Democrats, and they found that bribery was more compelling to the voters than quid pro quo. So they've now switched their entire terminology to call it bribery.
Probably because they didn't know what it meant.
Also, it just so happens that bribery is listed in the Constitution, talking about impeachment, high crimes, misdemeanors, bribery. That it's listed in there.
So the question boils down to motivation, right?
It boils down to motivation.
Because if he was trying to get the dirt to down a political opponent, then he's guilty.
Then that's a problem. Yes. And the tough part is it's actually kind of convoluted, because as far as it all comes into play simply because Biden is a potential political opponent. Because if this was like Oprah Winfrey's cousin or something, some other high profile person, but had nothing to do with Trump's campaign, and he says to Ukraine, look, we're feeding you this money, but we think there's this corrupt relationship going on between this company in your country and this person in our country. You got to shut this corruption down. I don't know. To me, it seems like that's within a president's purview to say, we're going to stop giving aid to you if you are losing that money and feeding, because part of it is some of that aid being fed to Ukraine is end up then being given to these corrupt companies and then coming back to these corrupt people in the U.S. That's another reason, is the dollars are all tied together. So to me, it seems like a pretty legitimate claim to say, hey, if you don't clean up this corruption on your end, we're going to stop giving you money to feed the corruption. However, in this case, the person supposedly tied to that corruption is a potential political opponent. And probably just before this broke was one of the potential leading opponents. Now,
now he's not.
He's not. And to be honest, it's not this, because how much coverage has Biden's actual involvement in this gotten? Not much. So it's not even this that's taken him down. It's honestly been the internal fighting. It's been his other Democrats taking him down, and honestly his failing health.
Yeah.
He really needs to just look. Whatever you think of Joe Biden, he has been involved in politics. He has had a long and I would say a pretty successful career in politics. Okay. He never made president. He made vice president. He's had a long time at the top. Why does he not just retire and enjoy his last few years with his family? Because he is clearly getting older, and I think we've all seen it in our own grandparents. You see when they start to get older, they don't quite have the same maybe pep and step that they used to. Do you really want them out there doing the most demanding job in the world, or do you want them kind of taking it easy and enjoying their time with their family? And so it's hard to even make fun of Biden when he screws up at this point, because you just look at him as like, that's somebody's grandpa. That's
you feel
dad.
sorry for him.
Why is he putting himself through this? Like,
yeah.
I mean, you remember that in the years past, everyone loved to share the pictures of presidents before and after they were in office. The first Bush, Obama, right. Clinton, the second Bush, and like how much they age in office because
they
of stress of the job.
Father to grandpa.
Now start out as the grandpa. Where are you going to go? You know.
Well,
they're going to come out looking like a skeleton.
The whole Benjamin Button thing going on there.
Yeah, something.
Reverse aging.
So Biden has slipped significantly in the race, not necessarily because of this stuff and attacks from Trump.
So
the Democrats have seized on it to try to take out Trump now. So here's my frustration. If he truly is corrupt, I obviously don't want him as president. However, because like if this had just popped up 2.5 years into the presidency now, and it had just been business as usual, Democrats and Republicans kind of pushing back and forth, both trying to screw over the taxpayer, and just business as usual, not this total polarization. And literally since 2016, they have been trying to overturn those election results. If it had just been normal and not this 3-year attempt to overturn election results, you'd probably have me much more interested in this impeachment. It really just feels like we tried this excuse. It didn't work. We tried this excuse. It didn't work. We tried Russian collusion. It didn't work. So now our goal is impeachment for something else.
Don't forget obstruction of Congress, which doesn't even exist.
And then because when impeachment for quid pro quo doesn't work, then it's impeachment for bribery. Like even now the goalposts are shifting. And that's why you have me going, I don't care. You have me feeling like I don't care. Like I almost wish he beats the Democrats just because I'm sick of the nonsense, sick of the attacks, even though I didn't vote for the guy last time.
I have a big question for you.
What was your question?
I have a big question for you. And I don't know if I have any founding on this. We know Ukraine got the money.
Mm-hmm.
We know Ukraine got it, what looks like before the investigation was ever started.
Yep.
If he did not withhold the money, is there a crime?
It doesn't appear to be. And then here's the other thing.
But
no witness, these supposed star witnesses, and I've actually received some interesting background on the witnesses the first 2 days. It's hard to tell. I listened to some of the testimony. I've been really busy with work the last couple of weeks, and I haven't been able to do a lot. I listened to a little bit of the testimony. It was my understanding that the Democrats have pretty much handpicked their witnesses. I don't know if this Taylor and Kent, if they weren't the whistleblowers, and I don't know if they're complicit in this and wanting the Democrats to impeach Trump, or if they're more just they're willing to say they heard some things, and the Democrats are seizing on this opportunity.
So basically, we have a bunch of hearsay?
I have a former boss who actually at one point apparently worked under these two guys in a former job that he had. And I've seen some comments from him that he thinks they're both honorable guys and just trying to do their best in this messy questioning. And I have reason to trust his characterization of them pretty well. The point being, though, all these star witnesses that the Democrats have trotted out, none of them have directly witnessed anything. They all had heard an aide who heard somebody else that this might have happened. And when they're asked the direct questions about direct evidence, all their testimony actually backs the Republican side of things, which would say nothing happened. And even on the second day,
Maria Yovanovitch.
Yeah, her testimony. If you put it this way,
you tell me what she knew. She didn't know anything. She wasn't even there. She was fired by Trump. That's the only reason they brought her in, Jeff. The only reason they brought her in was so that he looked bad.
Well, yeah. And then they asked her all these questions about this. And it's like an ambassador serves at the pleasure of the president. And they pretty much admitted to all that in the hearing. And the one part I heard was her going on about like, yes, but it's really unusual for a president to fire someone like this. And it's like, well, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You serve at the pleasure of the president.
And so she had no direct evidence. And essentially, literally, if you read even now, looking at, for example, the New Yorker headline yesterday, a bad week for Trump got worse with a new impeachment witness. And it's talking about it's talking about Yovanovitch, talking about her testimony. And it's like, so if you see the New Yorker or CNN or MSNBC, these are the kind of headlines you're going to see. And yet from the parts of the testimony I've listened to, it's gone so bad for the Democrats. You have them making statements to try to bolster their position, like sometimes hearsay is better than direct evidence. That statement was literally made. What was his name?
$1 million question. I have no idea.
Here we go.
Okay.
The quote, Democratic Representative Quigley, hearsay can be much better evidence. That was literally his statement in trying to support these cases that were brought on this first day. And that's just, I mean, he's a Democrat from Illinois. And that's... I mean, think about that. The statement by one of the lawmakers in our country is that hearsay can be better than direct evidence. Now, I understand that sometimes convictions may have ultimately been made mainly on hearsay if there isn't direct evidence. I don't know. I don't have a specific case in mind. I'm sure it's happened. But hearsay is thrown out in court usually. And I know this isn't court, this is impeachment hearings, but this is just ridiculous.
Well,
and if there's some evidence,
here's the problem.
If the whistleblower has evidence, let's see it. Let's hear from the whistleblower. Also, folks, you got Adam Schiff saying there's a whistleblower, we haven't talked to him. Well, then, yes, he has talked to my aides. So it was a whistleblower. Then it was, well, the whistleblower arranged all this stuff with Schiff's aides before he whistleblew, which kind of defeats the purpose of whistleblowing. But then you have him literally saying in the testimony during the hearings, Schiff straight up said, I don't know who the whistleblower is. But he also says he's going to protect the whistleblower's identity. Right. How do you protect his identity and keep him from being named if you don't know who he is? And if he's worked directly with your aides, how do you not know who he is? So
that's an outright lie anyways.
It's just chaos. It's absolute chaos.
So is the whistleblower going to testify?
No, so far everyone the Republicans that wanted to testify has been shut down.
Because we know who the whistleblower is. We know who the whistleblower is. Or we have a general idea. And if it is the guy who we think it is, or who the Republicans claim it is, I should say, then
he was already let go from one position for leaking
disgruntled employee. Perhaps.
Yep. And he went back to the CIA, and he's basically been part of this. We're going to overturn Trump from the beginning.
But if I remember correctly, this guy was a CIA plant.
Yeah, well, and there's been another statement made by a lawyer that's involved with the Democrats, some of the witnesses in here, that essentially was to the effect of, you cut one off, two more are going to pop up.
So here's the funny thing.
So
if this
for
guy's
Marvel
not the
fans-
whistleblower, he's got a pretty expensive attorney who keeps defending what he says.
Well, and for Marvel fans out there, you've probably heard that phrase before. Cut off one head, two more will rise up.
Oh, yeah.
Hydra, the bad guys from Captain America. So I don't know why you would even want to come out and make that statement of you take one out, two more will pop up. But literally, that's what's going on here. And that's what it's felt like since the beginning, right?
Right. Well, every time something gets debunked, something else rises up.
Two more pops up, and it is a total crap show right now.
It's like watching a clown show. I mean, it's terrible. It's ridiculous. I'm getting exhausted by it.
I feel like, I understand I am not the normal voter. I'm a little more tuned into politics. I try to be anyway. I have a little more grounded principles than the average voter. All that being said, I cannot fathom how the average swing voter is going to be pushed into the Democrats' camp by all this nonsense.
Well, they did polls already, and it's just polarizing everyone. Everyone is more and more polarized.
But somewhere there's people in the middle. There's those swing voters that are going to make the difference. And I don't see that. To me, this isn't convincing them. And again, depending on how the news spins it, but it's not convincing them that Trump's bad. Now, it could literally make them sick enough of it. I'm sick of it. I'm almost willing to vote for him this time around just to see him win again and watch them totally melt down. It might be pushing them the other way, where I don't want 4 more years of them fighting him if he wins, so I'll just vote for a Democrat just so I don't have to deal with this nonsense. That's the unfortunate thing, is it might push.
I don't like giving prizes to a bunch of crybabies.
So I don't know what to do with that, but I just don't feel like this is a win for the Democrats. Now,
okay, so do you know? Have you researched the future of what happens from here? So for the audience who doesn't quite understand,
I don't have a DeLorean.
The House of Representatives is essentially the grand jury. They are deciding if he committed the crime or not.
If there's enough evidence to put the crime to trial.
Okay, so if it goes to trial, he gets impeached in the House of Representatives. It then goes to the Senate.
Well, yeah, the resolution passes. Basically, the House says there's enough evidence here. Now the Senate goes,
the Senate has a trial.
Essentially the trial.
So
the trial.
Mitch McConnell already said it is going to trial if it gets to the Senate. Why is that? Why is that, you ask? Of course, Jeff asks, why is that?
Well, why is that?
It's very simple, actually. The trial wouldn't actually happen until around January. And it would go for approximately 6 weeks. And it would be 6 days a week for 6 weeks. You have 5, 6 senators who are running for president right now on the Democratic ticket, including Warren, Kamala Harris, name others. Booker.
Booker was another one.
We've got a couple others too.
Yeah, there's a couple lower ranking ones.
Yeah, Gillibrand.
There, Gillibrand, and who's the one from?
Texas is done. Beto's done.
But
he wasn't actually senator because he lost to Ted Cruz.
Hawaii.
Kamala
Tulsi Gabbard.
So, anyways, you've got all these people running, right, Jeff?
Mm-hmm.
They cannot actively campaign while the trial is going on.
So that's your thought, is that the Republicans want to keep them.
So it's a threat. It's a threat to the House. It's a threat to the House that if the House
sends it,
they are not going to complain for January or February.
Well, and
the Democrats will not be able to. And
the other thing is, I think the Republicans, after the initial push of this, not a single Republican in the House voted for impeachment. I don't think. Maybe one. No, I don't think any did. So
even the flaky ones, even Snow from Maine didn't.
So I think then the thoughts might be
even Amash. Amash is a senator. Never mind. No, he's
No, he's a representative, but he's not a Republican anymore.
No, which is interesting.
So I think he may have voted for impeachment, but he's not a Republican anymore. But he's now an independent. But
hey, welcome to the club, Jason Amash.
I think the thought process here is that the Republicans have shown a little bit of spine of sticking together since they narrowly control the Senate. The thought is we'll put it to trial, delay those campaigns, and he'll win in the Senate.
He did vote for impeachment, by the way.
Yeah, but he's not a Republican anymore, and that's why he doesn't.
But you sit there and you clog up the works with a 6-week trial.
Okay,
and all of a sudden,
so let me give you a little counter conspiracy theory. That's not really a conspiracy theory, but it's good analysis, I would say. That's analysis I would have expected from Tombstone, so I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Let me unroll some more tinfoil.
Okay, I like it. Start unraveling, buddy.
You hear a lot of people, even conservative commentators, even pro-Trump commentators, say as long as the economy holds, Trump's going to get reelected. Like there's nothing. And essentially, historically, I think the data proves that Democrats don't win elections on the national scale, like presidential elections, unless there's an economic downturn. That's when Democrats win. Which is ironic.
I'd like to know why that is. Like, I'd like to see why that is.
Well,
it's a very interesting thing.
Because A, you want to throw the party out that's in there, probably, and B, probably some of the promises they make. But so a lot of the claims from both sides are, unless the economy tanks, Trump's probably going to win. Do you believe there's any concerted effort anywhere to intentionally dip the economy so that Trump loses? Because the market is so goofy and reactionary. Now, I feel like it's actually slowed down. Like in the Trump years, I feel like it's slowed down. Remember, like when he first got in office, anytime they said they had some new bombshell in the Russia report or in the Russia investigation, the economy, the market would just tank. Like, first of all, the news organizations maybe should be held liable for losses in the market, because every time they'd come out with new bombshell and the economy would dip, and then it'd be like, oh, that bombshell was a nothing burger, and then things would just keep going. Okay. Any thoughts that maybe this shoving this impeachment and forcing it through, like Pelosi changing her tune on this impeachment from it's got to be bipartisan, it's got to be very obvious, to all right, now we're all in and we're doing it no matter what, is just an effort to, even if they know they can't win, a potential impeachment might hurt the economy, which will then help them win the election?
I mean, it's possible, but my mutual funds hope that doesn't happen.
Well, yeah. I'm finally saving for retirement, so I hope that doesn't happen either. But I'm not saying that's a direct aim. I'm thinking that if you're looking at it long-term strategy as the Democrats, so we can do this, we can drag him through the mud and have all this stuff going on. We can have the news agencies pretty much report it how we want them to report it. If we impeach him, great, he's out of office. If we don't impeach him, okay, but we've just dragged him through the mud. If the economy takes a hit, that's fine, because then he's more likely to lose. Like, it's just one of the other items on the list. This is literally just any way they can to overturn the 2016 election. And for them, for some reason, it's not enough to just, all right, we've gotten through 3 of the 4 years. Like, let's just run the 2020 election and kick him out of office that way. They're like that crazy spouse that a divorce isn't good enough. They have to have the annulment. They have to act like it almost never happened. You know what I'm saying? That's what it feels like.
No, the whole thing is a mess. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, can they tank the economy? I
don't know, because the economy has actually, I feel like, gotten a little more resilient, where it's not taking the big hits just because of some impeachment stuff's going on. But I don't know, maybe it is going to take a big hit here. On how
that's my big question. Like, I'm a little nervous. I see the fluctuations in the market right now, and it does reflect some of the.
It's definitely slowing down.
Some of the fails. But typically what happens is it goes really high, really fast, and then drops suddenly. And there's no warning. And so, like, a slowdown in the economy doesn't necessarily mean a depression or a recession.
True. And then it's all how that's spun in the news too.
That being said, there is a lot of hype, and we actually lost manufacturing jobs over the last couple of years. And even though the Trump administration has claimed that they've gone up, I mean that's what really floors me.
Yeah, it's
a lot of bait and switch.
A lot of craziness going on right now. It's a total clown show. I wish there was like some giant reset button where it was like literally everyone is term limited and booted out this time around, and it's all new people put in there.
That would be a glorious happening. Now just real quick, we got to go to break. Did you see the article that came out? The Border Protection Commissioner Mark Morgan said that the 78 miles of wall that has been erected under President Trump is not brand new wall, like has been claimed by the administration. It is replacement of walls that had already been scheduled to already
it's a new it's a new structure, but it's replacing existing wall.
Yeah.
See, this is a frustration, is that I don't think we've gotten, well, I say we, I didn't even vote for him. The people that have voted for Trump actually haven't gotten much of what he promised out of them. He's been wishy-washy on the Second Amendment. The border stuff hasn't come through. Now, the border stuff isn't necessarily his fault. He has been fought on every last stinking level by the Democrats to prevent him from fulfilling that promise, partially in hopes to probably tick off his supporters and turn them away from him. So I don't know that I can directly blame him on that. Other than at some point, he has to start defying some of these injunctions by judges, some of these ridiculous, obviously wrong injunctions that are saying the executive branch can't do what the executive branch obviously can do. At some point, you just got to look that injunction in the face and say, yes, there's supposed to be checks and balances, but no, you're completely wrong. And you're usurping authority that is not the judicial branch's authority. And basically, come get me. I'm doing it.
Jeff, that's a scary comment. That's scary, man.
At some point, you got to do it.
You're making me nervous. Man. Hashtag not my president. I'm kidding. We'll be right back. Back. No more politics, Jeff. No more politics.
Can I just read one thing?
Okay.
A tweet from Justin Amash, since we were talking about him. Which, think what you will of him for leaving the Republican Party. To be honest, he's been one of the most consistent liberty score, conservative score type congressman. But this is an interesting tweet, and this is the other thing we can't lose sight of as all this impeachment nonsense is going on. He says, think Congress can't get much done? Republicans and Democrats are working together right now to reauthorize Patriot Act provisions that expire in December. They're not going to let impeachment stand in the way of some good old-fashioned unconstitutional surveillance of Americans.
That's right.
So he's whatever you think of him for other stuff.
See, it's the whole
completely
it's
right
the
about
whole
that.
Jeff. Look one way while we're screwing you the other way.
Yeah, it's
remember the Patriot Act.
Nightmare.
If you guys watch the Snowden movie, if you watch the documentary Citizen 4, you'd know that the Patriot Act was what kicked off all this.
Well, and the Patriot Act should have expired long ago.
Patriot Act should have Epsteined itself.
And so it should not have killed itself?
Wait. You caught it. You caught it.
All right. Nice. You set me up well.
I did.
And also just another hint to anyone who doesn't follow politics closely and is wanting to figure out how to, whatever the name of the act or bill is, just usually think the exact opposite, and you'll get what's going on. So the Patriot Act is like total unpatriotic, unconstitutional spying on Americans.
But no, Jeff, you're wrong on that, because the Affordable Health Care Act
was completely
made my insurance
unaffordable
go really,
healthcare.
really high. Oh.
But hey, did you like your doctor?
No, not really. I actually don't have a doctor. So,
well,
if I had a doctor, I might have been able to keep my doctor.
No, you probably wouldn't have been able to keep your doctor.
Probably wouldn't have. No.
But anyway, all right, now we're done. What have you got for me?
No, I wanted to let you guys know that today, I took the truck. This was our third trip into town with the pickup truck. Head gasket saga of 2019. Drove the truck into town. Minimal issues. There's a weird surging issue that I'm not sure what it is. It could be a sensor, a bad sensor. But the truck went to town, went to church, to lunch, and then hauled back a ton of wood pellets for our wood stove with no issues. So
is the truck now successfully converted since it went to church?
No, it's still a Ford.
Okay.
So it didn't get saved.
So it's not one of the elect.
No, unfortunately. Ozzy could let us know all about that if he was here.
Ozzy would let us know if it was or not. Oh, boy.
Oh,
okay.
just picking on you, Ozzy. We love you.
Before we dig any bigger holes with that one, so you have now fixed your blown head gasket.
I fixed the blown head gasket, which is fantastic. Now I have to take 50 bags of wood pellets and bring them into my house. I'm considering that as part of my workout for tomorrow.
Now, you don't have children to do this for you?
They're not big enough yet. They're not big enough yet. Oh, I advocate child labor. Are you kidding?
I was just trying to cover myself on the show.
Myron's got 10 pounds on the 40-pound bag of pellets, so I don't think he can quite grab that.
Hey, but he should be able to carry his body weight.
I figured I could substitute it in as workout for the weight loss challenge.
Yeah, so about that.
So this was about a month ago now. We declared a weight loss challenge for the show. Now, I did get a weight, and I have been moderately working on this. Excuse the fact that I did eat a burrito Patron today at El Mez in Norfolk, Nebraska.
I have not even been close to working on this since I brought up the idea.
I did eat cheesecake for dinner.
Yeah, but you can see how successful our situation is.
But I did tell you yesterday what I did in the woods. I mean, I had 390 calories all day in the woods from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I walked 3 miles.
And you definitely burned more than 390
And I hauled, I got home and I think we had spaghetti. No, we had pork chops, and it wasn't good,
That
Jeff.
made up for a lot of it.
It wasn't good, Jeff. They were thick pork chops. Alyssa seared them in a pan. Got that nice brown crust on both sides.
Nice.
Caramelized. Oh, Jeff. Yeah.
So it's a good thing you walked.
It was a wash. It was a wash. It was a wash. It was a wash.
So I threw out the idea over a month ago, and I was the one that threw out the idea because I wanted the motivation to say, hey, it's also literally going into the hardest quarter of the year to control your weight.
It is.
Thanksgiving and Christmas and food and hunting and all this stuff. But maybe we should do a little weight loss challenge with the 4 of us here on the show. To help keep us motivated and keep us in gear.
So regardless,
pretty much right after I said that, work got crazy and I was off the show for several episodes, and then it's all just fallen by the wayside. So
sorry, Jeff.
Maybe we should start a weight loss challenge. Maybe let's throw that idea out there.
Right. I mean, I'm good with that. I'm going to take my weight from a couple weeks ago, though.
Oh,
because I'm going to cheat. Because I'm cheating.
I would say I'd take my weight from a couple weeks ago when I had the idea, but I've probably gained a couple pounds since.
That's not good, Jeff.
So,
that's not good at all.
I don't know if I want to do that.
I have to finish. Ozzy and I talked about this last week or the week before last. Our woodworking projects, and I've been building this oak table, and
I've seen the pictures.
I have to hand plane the top of this table to get it flat.
You are edge gluing this
I edge glued it.
It's hard.
And it's good. It's solid. Like I doweled it too, which is even more insane.
Yeah.
Because you have to line up the dowels and not get them off-centered. Anyways, I hope I did it right. I hope I did it right.
Are you second-guessing yourself now?
Nah, I don't know. Like, I know a couple of the holes were not straight. We're not, square to the board. But anyways, so regardless of that, that's going to be one of my exercise projects is planing that top down.
That will definitely, of course, are you going to use an electric plane?
Oh no, Jeff. Oh no. Hand plane.
Smarter, not harder.
Hand plane, man. No. So my thing with this is the majority of the table is going to be hand done.
Like no power tools at all?
Very minimal power tools. Very minimal. And it's just it's a weird glutton for punishment thing on my part. I mean, I like doing stuff like this. And yeah, so I'm gonna do it all without hand tools.
So since we've lost so much time and we're halfway through November now.
Yeah.
How long do we want to still just do to the end of the year?
Well, see, do we want
to stretch it out?
I have no, I have an issue because in January I have a cruise and all bets are off when I hit the cruise.
Well, that's fine with me. That's not my fault. I'm not going on a cruise in January.
I'm just saying I'm the cruise hits and I don't know.
You're getting your money's worth.
I think we need to, I'll be getting my money's worth. See, the funny thing is I end up typically losing weight on cruises, which doesn't make any sense.
No, that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense at all, but I think this year might actually be an issue because I think I've been a lot more active outside of the cruise.
So now you're going to be craving all those
now
calories.
I'm going to be craving the calories, and I've actually already decided that on the boat I'm going to have to work out.
You'll just have to swim alongside the ship.
That I'm going to have to. I don't know. But yeah,
we run around the ship.
We really need to refocus ourselves and figure out how we want to do this. I don't know. Maybe we do it the week after I get back from the cruise and we start it then, or we just start now and just go for 3 months.
I mean, we could just go now and go till we could have a checkpoint at December.
And just
see who's ahead at the end of the year. Just see who's ahead at the end of the year, and then it sucks to be you going on a cruise, but we just keep on going.
I'm okay with that.
We could take it from now to election day.
Oh, that's a long time. That would
essentially be a year.
That's a year. Good grief. That's hard to achieve. I want to know how we can get the audience involved, though, Jeff. I want audience involvement. And that's a $1 million question. So if anyone has any suggestions for audience involvement of how to get the audience involved, we would love them.
Tombstone to build, or we could find some sort of tracking app that people could sign up for and share all their results with the website or something like that.
That's a possibility. We need to iron this out.
We could have some. See, this is what happened last time. Is I just threw out the idea of we should have a contest. And
it was a great idea.
And you guys were like, "So what are the details?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I just threw the idea out." And then
you're like, "I'll figure it out," and we're gone for 2 weeks.
Exactly.
That's the problem when you're so responsible and your finger is on that rods of God button. You are on call 24/7, and
someone's got to listen to the calls to Ukraine.
I know.
My code name is Charamella. Oh wait.
So yeah, we need to figure out a way for audience involvement. We need to figure out. So I don't know if we plan on starting December 1.
That's rough, audience involvement.
I know.
I don't know. That's going to slow us down more. I know that we just need to lose weight.
We definitely need to lose weight. No. There's a we involved. And I've seen Tombstone's last profile picture, and it's a definite yes. Ozzy, though, I'm not sure.
Ozzy embraces it. He rocks the father figure.
Ozzy embraces the suck. And what I mean is he's a very active guy. Granted, running after 4 kids,
he's definitely active as well, yes.
It was funny. I was looking at his profile picture, which I finally got up on the website. Got up on the website, www.thefrontporchshow.com. To see the picture of Ozzy. He's there in all of his glory. You can see that on the Meet the Guys page. He is there, and he is rocking that stash.
With the llama.
With the llama. That is right.
Nice. AKA Karen.
Oh, you weren't supposed to see that.
I see you've been.
I may have fixed a whole bunch of stuff on the website. Yes, Just Jeff, also known as Karen. I mean, granted, Ben has the most. I mean, Ozzy, Oslin, the Prophet. Hey, you. I mean, there's so many. There's so many options. And me, I forgot to add in mine. You know, the czar of segues.
Terrible whiplash segues.
Well, we're not specifying what they are. We're just saying, you know, the czar of segues, because I want to be the czar of something, Jeff. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, brother.
So
yeah, I thought. Don't get me talking politics again.
No. So weight loss challenge. We will figure that out in the next couple weeks, and we will incorporate the audience. So that will kick off for the audience on December the 2nd. We will know then exactly what we are doing.
Oh man.
And we're going to do it as a group, because accountability, Jeff, accountability.
I hate that.
I hate accountability too, but you know what? When you've eaten all the cheesecake I've eaten tonight, you need accountability.
I haven't eaten all the cheesecake you've eaten tonight, so I'm good there.
It's terrible, Jeff. It's terrible. Hey, it's Alyssa's birthday. What can I say? And if she's listening, happy birthday, Alyssa. I love you. Jeff loves you. We all love you.
Happy birthday, Alyssa. Why is Aaron recording on your birthday?
Well, nothing. I got nothing.
Dedication. Dedication.
It was not always a given that the United States and America would have a close relationship.
Hold on a sec. I'm going to get me a beer.
It's Mr. McMillan. Would you like 30 seconds more?
Allow me to introduce myself. The rent's too damn high.
Jeff, my question for you is, should you be able to do what you want on your own property?
Well, you know my answer is going to be yes, as long as you're not harming anyone and violating anyone else's rights.
So what would someone else's rights be in that case?
Life, liberty, property.
Okay, so if you're dumping battery acid on their property, that's a problem. Or on your property and it's contaminating their property, that's a problem.
We could probably go that far.
Okay. If you're polluting the environment, that would be an issue.
Yeah.
What if you are living in an RV after your home burns down?
I mean, does it look like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation?
Should that matter? I mean, that was a pretty nice RV for the time.
Just dumping it down the storm drain.
Well, that's not good. That's not good. Yeah, it comes back to environmental stuff.
Obviously, I don't have a problem with it. I'm just seeing the story you sent, and obviously someone does have a problem with it.
So this is a story out of Mississippi. A Mississippi couple whose home was partially gutted in a fire is now facing fines and jail time for temporarily living in an RV while they dealt with their insurance. Now, I work in the insurance industry. Good luck. That's all I'm going to say. Good luck.
No, that's annoying because it's like that's what you have homeowners insurance for.
That's right. But it takes forever. The couple says they were on hold or were told their temporary home violated their Madison Homeowners Association code. Yet again, Homeowners Association, we've talked about them on the show before.
See, and this is the problem. I'll hold my analysis.
Yes, please. Just wait. Now, Pam Navari says they parked their RV in the driveway as they fought their insurance company over the settlement claim for the Christmas Eve fire. Now, we're talking a full year ago.
Yeah, I was going to say this is a year old almost at this point.
The city alderman and mayor signed off on the plan, and they said they could get a permit if the plan was approved by Annandale Estates Homeowners Association. So, obviously, let's just recap this. The Homeowners Association code said they couldn't do that. They go to the city. The city says they can do it. Apparently, you cannot domicile inside your RV on the property unless the mayor signs off on it. Okay? Now, Navari says the family received a letter from the association saying the RV broke its code, and they felt sympathy for us about the situation, but they needed to leave. But Navari said that she had already gotten the correct approval from the board, but the man who gave her the approval was not actually still on the board and had lied to her. And so, So as it stands now, they are facing jail time for violating city code and homeowners association code for living in an RV on their property. It bites. So
this is it actually looks like it's a pretty high end gated community and it's a golf community. So it's, you know how you got the fancy neighborhoods on a golf course.
Yes.
This appears to be that, if I'm in the right, Madison, Mississippi, correct?
Yes.
Here?
Yes.
Annandale Estates. All right. So it's definitely a nice, fancy schmancy neighborhood here.
Oh yeah.
I'm actually looking at the bylaws to their
really, we're going deep, man,
right now. The point being, though, is there are these bylaws. And so here's the trouble. Here's where I'm going to change. I may or may not surprise you with my analysis.
Okay. Hey, lay it on me.
I think this is ridiculous. I think you should be able to do what you want to do on your own property as long as you're not hurting other people. Now, those claims of hurting other people go from directly violating someone's life, liberty, or property to, polluting the environment, which is hurting the other person, to lowering the property value of the neighborhood. So you're hurting the other person because by having your yard a junky mess, their property value is lower. You see how that argument can be taken a bunch of different ways. But however, I agree. You should be able to do what you want to do on your own property unless you're hurting someone else. However,
I know where you're going on this, and I kind of agree with you.
I also contracts are contracts, and you can live where you want to live. And if you choose to live in this neighborhood and you choose to live in some place with a homeowners association, which I'm telling you right now, you're stupid if you do that because other people
do you have a homeowners association?
Absolutely not. I do not. And I won't live anywhere with homeowners association, if at all, absolute last resort, because they can tell you what to do.
It's bad enough, Jeff.
There's always that one nosy person. And don't get me wrong, I'm not under the illusion. I understand that there's building codes and zoning ordinances, and the county and the township and the city and everyone else are also still telling you what to do.
It's bad enough dealing with local government, let alone the little commies living next door, man.
But you can find out, yes, how communistic your neighbors can be when they want your grass to be, they very politely and passive aggressively talk about how your grass is a quarter inch
or aggressively. Ask Rand Paul how that went for him.
Yeah. And so I understand communities that want HOAs because they want to keep their community looking nice. And honestly, I agree. I probably agree more with an HOA existing than maybe in principle than maybe with with heavy zoning laws and all that kind of stuff, because at least with an HOA, it's everyone that moves into that neighborhood coming together under contract and saying, these are the rules we want to abide by, versus necessarily the government dictating what you want to do. But I also don't want someone else dictating what I'm going to do. So I honestly feel I feel more free where I live right now, just with the ordinances from the township, than I would in a HOA situation.
Well, right. I mean, good grief, when they're telling you gotta put a mask up in front of your put pallet wood up in front of your garbage can so your neighbors can't see your garbage cans.
Yeah, and stuff like that. It's it's a garbage can. It sits out by the road one day of the week. Technically, we're actually switching. There used to be several different trash haulers for the township I live in, and there were some issues with one that fell through earlier this year. I actually was subscribed to that one, and they tanked. They went on a business. They screwed a lot of people over. I switched haulers to a different one that was approved for the township. Now the township has gone to one source hauler. So instead of you having to go out and pick your own, they have put out bids for a contract. They have the one for the township, and that's it. That's the one you get as part of your being in the township. The cost for it's actually pretty good for what service we're getting. And so obviously they technically have rules. They're passing around the new rules because this all starts at the beginning of the year. And like technically your trash cans aren't supposed to be out before is it the night before you can put them? I think you can put them out the night before, but not super early. Or maybe you can't have them out before a certain time in the morning, the day of, and then they've got to be picked up by a certain time the night of. Like they don't want you leaving trash cans out there all week long or whatever. So I get that there's still rules in the township, but this HOA stuff is frustrating. And it seems to me most of the time, the complaints over the petty stuff are usually more in HOAs than they are in just townships. It feels like to me, right? Like the flag ordinances or the color of your house or where you park your car or the length of your grass, they usually seem to come more in these HOA situations. So we've ranted on that way too long. The point being, I don't understand how they're going to get jailed. I guess what you said is the connection is the county was fine with them,
right? Or
the mayor was fine with them if they got approval from the HOA.
That's right.
But because the HOA denied approval, then the county denies approval.
That's right.
So now they're essentially breaking city ordinance and HOA ordinance.
I imagine the way it is that they are living in a they're going to classify it as something as they're living in a non-approved domicile or whatever.
Yeah.
And now, that's probably not allowed. The question is, do they arrest homeless people in their county?
That's a good question. Here's another question, or here's another interesting thing. In a Facebook post, the lady Navari, the family here, she says that she thought she had the correct approval from the board, but it turns out the man who said she was approved was not actually still on the HOA board and had lied to her.
That's bizarre. That's really a bizarre part of the story.
So that's a weird one. Now, this also teaches you your lesson to message your board on Facebook and get approval from one of them.
Right.
You obviously need to go to the board in a meeting and have them sign a piece of paper and stuff. So that's interesting as well. But that's another bizarre twist that maybe she was even operating in good faith, that she had all these approvals and got hosed by another jerk in the neighborhood. So short version being, it shouldn't be this hard to fight with the insurance company, and you really should be able to live how you want as long as you're not causing a problem. It's like, didn't we cover it? Maybe we just talked about it amongst us and we didn't cover it, but wasn't there some guy that got in trouble because he was just completely off the grid?
Yeah, we talked about that on the show.
He was not tapped into electricity.
Right. Because he wasn't
in trouble.
Yeah.
What? That one is
completely so bizarre.
Insane. And that's not HOA, that's government. So that's another even completely.
I knew a couple in Ace. I won't give the state just because for their privacy. But they owned a house in the Southwest, and they were
like Florida.
That's right, Florida. Florida's in the Southwest. Yeah. Too bad Tombstone's not here to correct your geography. They lived in the Southwest, and they were completely off the grid. Mm-hmm. Completely off the grid because they were literally 20 miles away from the grid. And so
maybe nice.
I know. Barely a cell phone signal, barely,
I say that's probably not nice. I do like having the internet.
They didn't have very good internet. Generator for electricity. It was quite the challenge for them. But I don't know. I have an issue when the government says you have to buy a service.
If I can generate all the electricity and water I need without hooking up to your utilities, I shouldn't have to hook up to your utility.
Now, how is the law on you have to be connected to a utility any different than the mandate to buy healthcare?
It's not in my mind. I disagree with both of them.
I know. I'm just posing the question.
You're right. It's the government forcing you to buy a good or service.
Yeah.
It's very
why should I ever be forced to buy someone else's good or service? I shouldn't be forced just because I exist. I should not be forced to buy anything.
Medicine.
I know.
It's
I know.
for your own good. They have your best interest in mind.
Jeff.
Don't question. Don't
Jeff,
question.
Just
close your eyes.
I toured shower facilities over in Germany. That's all I'm saying. I toured shower facilities over in Germany. And that was for their own good. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd have gone that far.
I went that far.
But yes.
I went that far. That is a very extreme notion that I just threw out there. But it is the same mentality and mindset that gets you there. It is for your own good. The government can force you to do anything if it's for your own good. And they can justify it. All they have to do is call it a tax, call it whatever they want. And they can force you to do it.
It's a frustrating thing. Unfortunately, in this case, it's not the government. It's the HOA that she chose to deal with. And I don't understand the delay in the insurance thing either. So it'd be interesting to look into more details in that and see what's going on, see why it was denied. And also, for heaven's sake, people, if you're on the HOA board over there, like I said, unless these people have given up trying on taking care of their house and they're just living in a dump, like, let them live in the RV till they get the house fixed.
I know, good grief. It's like,
you got my vote.
Too bad you're not on the board.
Yeah. My first vote would be to abolish the board.
Thank you, Ron.
Absolutely.
Our next story takes us to the state of Iowa.
First in the nation. First in the nation.
That's right.
Sorry,
can I call Iowa a sister state? I mean, there's just a whole bunch of corn there. I mean, Nebraska's got more pretty stuff than Iowa does. Never mind. I'm not going to pit the states against each other. Iowa's known for its corn. Everyone thinks Nebraska's known for its corn.
You and Tombstone are all about pitting the states against each other if we go back to the 1800s. So
whoa. I'm a son of the South. What can I say, Jeff?
You're from Vermont.
I'm not from Vermont.
My
grandfather hails from the beautiful state of beautiful town of Cheraw, South Carolina.
I literally thought you were going to say Toronto.
No,
both times, and
amazing.
I was like, "What?"
No. Cheraw, South Carolina, man.
Cheraw,
little city in upstate South Carolina. I shouldn't say upstate. It is a city. It ranks as a city.
Gotcha. All right. So
Iowa here.
Where we are now, though, in the Midwest, in the Big Ten.
So there is a man, this is a Newsweek article, a man serving a life sentence for murder claimed his sentence was fulfilled during his short-lived death after he was rushed from the Iowa State Penitentiary in 2015 to the hospital, and his heart was restarted several times.
So this kind of harkens back to late 90s, Tommy Lee Jones, Ashley Judd.
Oh, I don't remember this.
Double Jeopardy?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember the movie Double Jeopardy?
No, I don't remember the movie Double Jeopardy.
Tagline, murder isn't always a crime.
Ooh, tell me more.
Oh, this is going to be like total spoiler alert for you.
Should I go watch it this week and give a review?
So essentially, yeah, maybe you could do that. You could do a review of it. The premise for the movie is that
don't give any spoilers.
Well, it's a lady that the premise for the movie comes down to the law about double jeopardy, where it says that a person cannot be, I believe this is in the Constitution or one of the amendments, you cannot be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb for the same crime.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. So that's what provides the
your
foundation for the plot. The foundation for the plot.
Your meager description makes me think I've seen this. But at the same time, I kind of want to go back and watch it again because it's got Tommy Lee Jones in it.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and anything with Tommy Lee Jones in it, I mean, that and Sean Connery, which I made the mistake of doing that the other night.
What'd you watch with Sean Connery in?
Oh, some 1981 space movie where he's a marshal on a mining colony on Io.
Oh, I've not heard of that one.
Yeah, man, it's
what's
terrible.
The title of it?
I think it's Outworld or something.
Oh gosh,
no, it was absolutely terrible.
Review.
It's on Prime, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. It's absolutely terrible.
But yes, double jeopardy. I just thought of that because basically the idea of you can't be convicted for the same crime twice. And so that's kind of his claim.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
is that where he's going?
Yeah.
Is that he's technically served his sentence.
He served his sentence. His sentence was life. He died.
Now, was he ever declared?
Now there is the caveat right there, Jeff. He was never officially declared dead. And that is why the Supreme Court or the judge, the Iowa Court of Appeals, denied his request because he was never actually certified as dead.
Now, here's interesting. Years earlier, Schreiber had signed a do not resuscitate agreement, but medical staff called his brother in Texas, who said the hospital could give him something to ease the pain.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you are to let him pass, he said. Doctors administered resuscitation fluids through an IV, which saved his life. And then Schreiber. So sounds like they actually defied his wishes and his brother's wishes.
Yeah. It's so bizarre because he was admitted with large kidney stones and had septic poisoning. And when he arrived at the hospital, he's unconscious. So had this do not resuscitate. They pumped him full of fluids, and then they pumped resuscitation fluids in him instead. So. They messed up. But the problem is that I think he could go after the hospital for malpractice, but he can't get his sentence overturned. He still can't do that. So the guy is still in jail for several more life sentences, I suppose. And have fun in there.
Yeah, so did he have multiple life sentences?
No, I think he still has that just one life sentence.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, if he had multiple life sentences, then he could really only claim one came off anyways, and then he's
claiming 5 because his heart was restarted 5 times. So
yeah,
he's like a cat with 9 lives, Jeff.
It's very interesting. It's a very interesting claim. I will say this: I respect the player, or don't hate the player, hate the game. How do I say it? Like, total props to him for this. Is I know I give him props for the effort. I give him total props for the effort.
I respect it. The man's onto something. I want to pivot to Texas, Jeff, where this week, probably when in 3 days, when some folks are listening to the show, the state of Texas is going to execute Rodney Reed, despite new evidence pointing to his innocence. Now, Deke Pierce was wearing civilian clothes. This is out of The Intercept. Was wearing civilian clothes when he took to the lectern at the narrow press room at the Texas Capitol last month, but it was still obvious he was a cop. Feet wide, arms slightly away from his body, stance molded by years in a uniform encumbered by heavy gear. He was there to make an extraordinary
Are you going to read this whole article?
No.
Okay.
I like the intro. I really like the intro. He and 12 other members of law enforcement with more than 250 years combined experience had filed a friend of the court brief with the United States Supreme Court in favor of the Texas death row prisoner named Rodney Reed, slated for execution on November 20th. Okay, so Rodney Reed has been sentenced to death for the murder of a woman by the name of, for the rape and murder of 19-year-old Stacy Stites, who was killed on April the 23rd, 1996.
And he was convicted and sentenced in 1998.
That's right. That's right. He was convicted and sentenced in 1998. So he's been sitting on death row for, 20 years now, 21 years. Her body was found dumped on the side of a road outside of Bastrop, a small town roughly half an hour south of Austin. Partially clothed, lying face up, arms above her head. They figured that she was strangled with a length of braided leather belt, which was big in the 90s, by the way. Did you ever have a braided leather belt? I did.
I'm pretty sure I did, yes.
Yeah, man, rocking the belt. DNA material was collected from inside of her. And the DNA evidence pointed to 29-year-old Reed, Rodney Reed, the man who is in prison right now on death row, about to be about to be set to death on the 20th. Now, the DNA was...
This sentence says the murder went unsolved for nearly a year before law enforcement officers, apparently acting on a hunch, tested the recovered DNA against Reed.
Yes.
So what led to him being a potential test match?
So I am not quite sure, but he initially was questioned by police. He denied knowing Stites when he was initially questioned. He then admitted having an affair with her, which would explain the presence of his DNA. Okay? So, it's not surprising that Rodney Reed was not forthcoming. You have to remember this is mid-Texas in the mid-90s, okay? This is small-town Texas in the mid-90s. Reed is black, Stites is white. He's engaged, she was engaged, she was engaged to Jimmy Fennell, who was a white cop in a neighboring town. Okay? So, lots and lots of issues there. So, anyways, the whole story comes out. No one testified on Reed's behalf that he was actually in a relationship with Stites. And it turns out that there's actually evidence and everything that suggests that it wasn't Reed. And perhaps it was actually Jimmy, the fiance, who did this. Timeline gets suspicious because...
basically what they're saying is they had a case that they were slowly building against the fiance. The family had said he had been acting suspicious. Like, there was just all kinds of... he was interrogated by the police several times. He was characterized as abusive from day one in the relationship.
Yeah, he was not a good guy.
So basically they were building a case along a bunch of other ways, and DNA evidence, because he really hadn't contributed any DNA evidence to the case, that wasn't considered one of the things.
No.
And so in other words, they were building a case on a bunch of other factors, but then the instant they get the DNA evidence from Reed and it's a potential match, they throw out all other factors and just turn the case on
the case right onto Reed.
Now, how early did DNA evidence come into use?
It was pretty
new
the
in the 90s?
Yeah, it was the 90s. I mean, I feel 80s.
like probably in the 80s, but I feel like some of this might be like DNA evidence is new and it trumps everything. Like, if we find
that was the time we were in at that point. Absolutely,
then it must trump everything else.
Absolutely. Now, there was other evidence that pointed to Fennell at the time. I mean, there was fingerprints. There was a whole bunch of things. So, anyways, all this said, you've got a court who is refusing to take back up this case.
Scrolling down a little further, it does say that it says, despite the utter lack of evidence tying Reed to Stites' death, there are still those who defend the conviction. They claim that Reed is a serial sex offender into whose modus operandi Stites' murder fits. Over the year, blah, blah, blah.
I don't quite see the background.
So here's where the DNA came from and how they got the DNA that the police used to connect Reed to Stites had been collected from him in conjunction with a different sexual assault in Bastrop, one that was never prosecuted.
So
he potentially has some issues too.
Potentially. But I will yet again err on the side of caution. He was not convicted for that.
Yeah, he was not convicted. There was no conviction. So innocent until proven guilty. I'm completely fine with that. It's interesting that he's been implicated in more than one case.
Well, that being the only other one. That being the only other one, I guess, is my
and
thing.
there's
because once you establish the relationship between Reed and Stites, all of a sudden there's no assault
now,
there.
With actual convicted history of sexual violence, the fiance actually has pled guilty to kidnapping and improper sexual contact. So in other words, there's a lot going on.
Which, yet again, Fennell was a police officer in a neighboring county.
Yeah. So
anyways,
all this is going on. So what?
All this is going on.
Bring us?
So currently, they are trying to get this overturned. However, the court will not hear it. The court will not hear this case, and the guy is going to be killed on the 20th of November.
Why will they not hear his case?
They say it's all good. They say it's good. They say the court has heard.
So I know this is a strong issue for you. So I'm going to come into it from this angle, and then we can talk about this.
Okay.
Because obviously this one specific case is interesting, but I feel like you just want to use it as a segue to get this topic.
I'm not going to stand on my soapbox. I'm not going to stand on my soapbox.
No. And it's perfectly fine if you are, obviously. I'm just saying, like, you might want to get this issue out in the open. So here is the issue. Some of you might look at this and say, okay, so this is from the 90s. He was convicted in the 90s, and he's been on death row since then. And I know my gut reaction, and a lot of people's gut reaction, is if he's convicted and sentenced to death in the 90s, why is he still sitting around on death row?
I've got a huge issue with that.
Being fed and paid for by our tax dollars.
I've got a huge issue with that.
But you're probably glad he's still sitting around because you raised these other issues. So raise your other issues.
So this case here proves and I've talked about it on the show before, my long-standing issue with the death penalty and the fact that I do not recognize the federal government or the state governments as this arbiter of being able to wield the sword. And my reasoning for that is the number of cases out there that are bad. Forensics gone wrong, if you will. Where forensics has shown it's somebody else, and yet it doesn't match. And there are cases upon cases where DNA exonerations have existed. Just some quick facts here. 1989 was the date when the first DNA exoneration took place. There has been 367 exonerations to date based on DNA evidence. Now I understand this is different because DNA evidence is what put this guy in jail. But there's also a lot of interesting averages that go along with this.
So your quote, so I get it right, is you do not recognize the federal or state government as, how'd you say it?
I don't know exactly how I said it.
Arbitrary power able to wield the sword.
Yes. Okay, now let me just extrapolate upon that a little bit. Okay, for clarification's sake. I believe in the death penalty in the most extreme of circumstances.
Can I pull a little Jesus juke on you?
Yes, I hear you.
A little proof text on you. Romans 13:4 explicitly states that government is God's servant and an agent of retribution to the wrongdoer. he does not wield the sword in vain.
I hear what you're saying.
So I just wanted to throw that out.
I hear what you're saying. I understand that sentiment.
I get what you're saying too. I just found your choice of words about wield the sword ironic because it explicitly says he does not carry the sword in vain, or he does not wield the sword in vain.
We can debate the context, the exact context of that. But yeah, so I believe that the government has a obligation to be absolute positive that a person actually convicted of the crime, committed the crime, if we're putting someone to death.
Correct. And that's where you and I agree on.
My issue is we have had time and time again of situations where the government has wrongfully convicted people. They've been sitting on death row.
Technically, the jury of peers.
Okay. Yes.
Wrongfully
yes.
convicted people.
I agree with you on that. And here we have are these people who, 346 of them got overturned. Due to DNA evidence.
Would you say that you are 100% against the death penalty? The death penalty should not exist.
I'm 99% against it.
Okay.
Because I believe in the case
I definitely think the death penalty should exist.
I believe in the case of I think there needs to be multiple eyewitnesses. There needs to be
to avoid using his name, the South Carolina church shooting.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Right there. Right there.
Any of these school shooters, there's a difference for, I might have to back off. There may be difference for minors in there, but anyone who commits any of these mass shootings where everyone and their mother sees it and we all know who it is.
Have
the manifesto.
Here's my thing. I want incontrovertible proof.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay,
you're caught right there at the scene.
Absolutely.
Everyone knows you did it on 47 different camera angles. It can't be deep faked. There's all these witnesses, and many of them survived.
I say convene a jury and a judge right then and there and hang them high.
Well, let the jury do its course.
Expeditiously.
Yes, exactly. I mean,
expeditiously.
That's speedy, man. That's a speedy trial. Right?
But in these cases where
once the conviction's done, if there's a potential for an appeal, then the appeal has to happen right away.
Yes.
And when the appeals process is over and the final appeal's been made, boom, kaput. March them out to the yard. And
it's over.
March them to the chair.
Absolutely over.
It's over. Yes.
I believe a short appeals process.
Make it swift.
I have no issue with life in prison. I do not have any issue with someone being sentenced to life in prison, especially if there is the possibility, like in this case, of the possibility of someone being put to death when they didn't do the crime that they were convicted of.
Yeah, you definitely have to be very careful because of that, and even if they get life in prison wrongfully, you're still obviously ruining their life, but you at least haven't killed them. And that's what you're saying, and it offers a chance for the appeals process or new evidence to come out.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it also just speaks to you as someone on a jury, if you ever get the opportunity to be on a jury.
No, I pray I don't in a case like that.
I kind of want to be on a jury to have the experience, and I would hope that I have the wisdom to. It's not about you have to be completely convinced, and I think that's the trouble is you've got to go in there with, no matter what you think, you've got to go in there with
unbiased
100%. Well, no, you've actually got to go in there biased toward not guilty, right? You have to go in there biased 100% toward. This guy's completely innocent unless they can prove me otherwise. And prove me otherwise has to be 100% beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Prove me otherwise.
Yeah.
And, does that mean a lot of guilty people are probably going to go free?
So yes, that's okay.
But that's okay because it's way worse if an innocent person suffers for it.
Yeah.
And I understand that for that one family grieving for some sort of attack or murder or whatever, it might not feel like it if they're sure this is the killer and they go free because of some technicality. But I mean, either that person's going to screw up later and commit another crime, or more evidence is going to come out, or maybe it just isn't. Maybe sometimes bad people get away with bad things.
Yeah.
They will still eventually get what's coming to them.
It's the penalty we pay for not living in an authoritarian state.
Well, it's the penalty we pay for living in a fallen world.
That as well.
You're not going to have perfect one-for-one. We're fallen, so you even have to have this discussion, but then we're fallen without perfect leaders. Right. So you're not going to get perfect administration of justice. And which way do you want to put it this way? No matter what, the administration of justice is not going to be 100% perfect.
Yeah.
So which way do you want it to be imperfect?
Do you want to be erring on the side of caution?
Convicting innocent people, or do you want to be imperfect on the side of letting some guilty people go?
I know my choice.
I would rather let the guilty people go in the long run if I had to pick one or the other.
Yeah.
It's probably not a popular opinion with some people, but
no, but that, as I said, I'll leave it there.
To do at the end, I wanted to do like products liability, as in, if that camera explodes all over that guy, we'd sue the camera company and their insurance company, you see.
How did Yale out-rebound Baylor? You go up and grab the ball off the rim when it comes off, and then you grab it with two hands, and you come down with it, and that's considered a rebound. So they got more of those than we did.
T-shirt of a headhunter a guy brought me from Borneo, which was kind of nice of him. He couldn't get me a shrunken head, so I got a T-shirt.
Okay, Jeff, you got to tell me about what in the world happened here with this boxing match.
Well, I think we all love watching those sci-fi movies where, you've got the glasses where you can just watch something right on the lens of your glasses or something. You can watch video, communicate through them, whatever, right? And Google Glass is trying to do that to some extent, some of these augmented reality things. Well, have you ever thought about watching an event in someone else's glasses?
Oh, well, I've never thought about doing that. Is that like putting yourself in someone else's shoes?
Maybe. Seeing something from someone else's point of view. Maybe. I
like the analogies here. It's good.
So I don't follow boxing. I've got nothing against it.
Did you ever see the Pacquiao, or not the Pacquiao? The who's the crazy guy from Scotland or Ireland or whatever?
I don't know where you're going.
Big talker, the big fight like 2 years ago.
I know. Yeah.
Did you ever see that? I watched that.
I can't think of his name.
I watched that the day after.
I've done like reports on Joe Louis, having grown up in the state of Michigan.
I have no idea who that is. No, he's a boxer. I know that.
Yes.
I'm just kidding.
But other than that, I don't really follow boxing, MMA, anything like that. Don't really have anything against it. Just doesn't interest me that much to follow it. Also, it seems like the events are so random, and all of a sudden they announce
they're
them.
So expensive.
Yeah, pay-per-view, right? When you go to watch it, you've got to
unless you see it the day after on YouTube.
And unless you see it live on YouTube. So
wait, what?
As this article starts out, I love you. You read that article. You love the way it started. I love the way this one starts. This is from SB Nation, and the author starts out, "I'm not going to sit here and advocate that piracy is a right, and you should illegally watch pay-per-view events on the internet using nefarious means." He's not going to advocate that. All right, now that the cops are gone, I'm totally in love with the ingenuity behind this scheme to let the internet watch KSI versus Logan Paul 2 for free. So this is a boxing match between Logan Paul and KSI, which I'm so unversed in.
Yeah, I don't know these
boxing
guys.
culture that I don't even know.
I don't know these
guys. However,
well, they're two big dudes brawling.
Yeah, this guy is a YouTube streamer.
Okay.
And apparently, and I don't know. The article doesn't give me enough, so I don't know if he's making any money. Like maybe he's got a monetized streaming account, and if he gets more viewers, more people to follow him, he'll get more money. I don't know. I don't know the details of why he would want to do this, but he obviously paid to view the fight.
Right.
He's also a guy that wears glasses, and he proceeded to sit down in front of his computer while watching the event and live streaming on YouTube. And as the article says, while normally the comment sections on YouTube and social media are full of people arguing with each other, the comments on this section were full of people going, "Don't move your head, bro. Stop moving your head," or turn a little bit to the left, because he literally sat there and watched the whole event at the right angle so that if you're watching his live stream, you can see the screen reflection in his glasses.
That's amazing.
And what's the number? Let's see here. 11,000 people watch this pay-per-view event for free in his glasses.
As a guy who pretends to know what he's doing with cameras and who plays a live video director on the weekends, that's awesome.
Now,
like
honestly,
the perfect setup. Like,
I don't know if anyone got. I mean, I'm looking at a screen grab of it here, obviously. And
it's not great, but
you're not seeing much. You can barely tell who's who, and one guy's black and one guy's white. So, but
I mean, I don't know. You move the camera a little closer, and you might be able to see it.
All that being said,
you pop that up. Pop that up on the big screen.
And watched it. I believe he got his YouTube channel shut down for this.
Shocking.
Let's see here.
I would not be surprised.
Oh, it actually doesn't say. The author says, "I know this streamer is going to get caught and banned, but I'd like to give him props while he's still on the internet for seeing a problem and finding a solution. This is the kind of inventiveness we need to repair some of the world's biggest problems. And it all starts with a weird boxing match reflecting in a guy's glasses."
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that. Like, it's so true. The weirdest things bring people together. Like, for instance, the Epstein memes.
Oh, yes.
It's so funny. It's so funny.
Did you see that there was one of the representatives was a Republican representative tweeting out stuff about the first day of impeachment hearings, sent a bunch of different tweets, and if you took the first letter of every tweet, it spelled out Epstein didn't kill himself.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
And he didn't, as far as I know, he didn't like bold the first letter or anything. So I don't know who put it together.
That's so awesome.
But that was a good.
That's genius. I love it.
All right. Well, continuing with our crazy sports people segment, I guess we kind of got a sports segment going here. We got a little bit of Coach Leach in there, right?
Yeah, so, absolutely. Let's be honest. We can talk about anything we want anytime we want because we can.
Because we aren't part of an HOA.
That's right. That's right.
Our front porch is unregulated.
We are not regulated or told what to do by the corporate types.
Except you won't play music or movie clips that we want you to because you're terrified.
Because I'm afraid of the lawyers, not the corporate types.
Okay. So this caught my eye. I didn't know anything about this instance, talking about lawsuits and things going on over years. Okay. I didn't know anything about this till this article popped up a couple days ago, but I found this very interesting. So the headline here, and you can probably find it other places. This is from The Blaze. A high school baseball coach wins legal fight after being sued for telling a player to slide, resulting in injury. Okay.
Whoa,
so how many of you out there, did you ever play high school sports, Mathis? Did you play any sports?
No, I didn't play sports in high school. I played a Little League.
Okay, so you play Little League baseball.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're running the bases, you got a first base coach and a third base coach.
Yeah.
And pretty much once you've rounded first, now you're watching, because you shouldn't slide into first, you should run through.
Right. Run through.
Once you've rounded first, you're watching the third base coach, and he's giving you the, because you don't know where the ball's coming from the outfield because it's coming from behind you. And if you're watching the ball, you're not running fast.
Absolutely.
So you're running to the bag, and the coach says slide, you slide. As a matter of fact, in most rec softball leagues, little leagues, high school baseball, if there's a close play, you have to slide. And if you don't slide, you're out because you could potentially get injured. You could injure the other player. You have to slide to make it safer so that you're down and out of the way. And then you can't slide and try to cleat somebody. That's the rules in most rec leagues.
I'll go with that.
So apparently a high school baseball coach in New Jersey, so too bad Ozzy's not here.
I know, right?
He was playing in 2012. So this is 7 years ago.
Whoa!
In a JV game,
they've been
fighting over this for 7 years. He was in a JV high school baseball game, and this coach was sued by a former player over an injury that was sustained when the coach told him to slide into third base. So the coach, let's see here, the teams are Boundbrook and Gill St. Bernards. I assume these are schools up there. The player's name is Jake Mazar. So Jake's team is up 6-0. Mazar hits a ball to left center field, tries to stretch it into a triple. He's coming into third base hard and hot, trying to stretch this, what should have been a double, into a triple. The coach tells him to slide to try to beat the throw, is the way the article words it. He probably is also required to slide in high school baseball. When he slides into the bag, he rolls over his ankle. He probably caught a cleat and rolled it over.
Gotcha.
And caused a serious break. Now, you're thinking, okay, serious break. He missed his year of baseball. This is kind of crazy. The injury was so serious it required 3 surgeries, stem cell injections, and even caused the doctors to consider amputation at one.
Whoa, so bad injury.
Yeah, so it went nuts. I don't understand how it went that bad. This is a really bizarre, and it did heal to an extent, but it ended his supposedly promising athletic career.
Oh, good grief! Good grief. Okay, look, guys. Okay, just real quick. Not every kid in Little League football is going to win the Heisman.
Now, okay, they offer a little bit of support. He had just made the varsity basketball team at age 15.
I don't care. Your kid is not Rodriguez.
He has some skill, but he's not going to be. Yeah, he's not going to be the next.
A quarter of the kids in high school can probably make the varsity team at 15. Okay.
I don't know about that stat. The point being, he thought he was having a decent high school career.
But I'm making it up just like the parents are making it up that he has a promising career.
And then, of course, the injury reportedly has psychological impacts on Mazar as well, causing depression and panic attacks in addition to physical pain.
I
could understand
depression. Have to play the game.
I don't know about panic attacks.
Jeff, he didn't have to play the game. He didn't have to stretch his run to third.
So what's interesting is that even though the injury happened in 2012, the lawsuits didn't even actually begin until 2015. And the coach had actually moved on to a different school by then. And it didn't look like it was going anywhere. But then in 2018, it popped back up. And so what's going on is basically, I guess what the charge that they were trying to figure out if he was guilty of is being negligent or reckless in issuing the order to slide.
That's ridiculous.
And I found that absolutely insane. And thankfully the jury acquitted him. So after years of legal back and forth, listen to this though. 7 out of 8 of the jurors agreed that Suk is SUK is the coach's last name, that Suk should not be held responsible for Mazar's injury. Legal company representing Suk's school district incurred about $75,000 in legal fees defending the coach.
I want to know who that one juror is and kick him in the kneecaps.
Yeah, seriously. Listen to this quote from the player's father, Rob Mazar. He's frustrated that no one will be held accountable for his son's injury. Here's the quote, "You have people just taking the extra $8,000 who don't know what the hell they're doing. Somebody's got to be responsible. Nobody is." So I believe he's talking about maybe what the coaches are paid to coach at the schools or whatever.
What in the world?
Now, I coached some high school soccer this year. I made exactly $0, so I don't know what this $8,000 is talking about. I did it on a volunteer basis for a private school. But so basically this parent wants somebody responsible for his kid's injury. It's sports. It happens.
Yeah.
It would be one thing.
It would be one thing.
Baseball's a tough one because did the coach tell him? Did the coach send him from second to third? Maybe. Did the coach tell him to slide? Maybe. But that's part of the game. And who cares? The coach did not put him in some really weird, risky, unsafe position. He didn't tell him to charge the catcher when the catcher already had the ball. Like the coach says,
don't put the kid in football.
That would be the end of coaching.
Yeah.
No one would coach if you could be sued for a kid getting injured while you were coaching them. And I'm not saying for like, there could be situations in football, hockey, something where I could see a coach telling a kid to do something unsafe as like revenge against another kid or something. There could be some dumb situation.
This dad
in the act
is
of
that
coaching.
guy.
Exactly. This dad is that guy. This dad is the guy.
He thinks his kid is going to be.
Well, and this is the guy that's telling you that you can't park your RV in the
No, you're
driveway.
right. You're right. You're right.
Because let's say that this case went the other way. Let's say instead of
it would have
7-1 one way.
Coach Suk is right.
Tua's coach could be sued for having Tua out there when Alabama was kicking butt.
That's right.
Now, I think it was a terrible decision to have him out there when Alabama was kicking
probably
butt. If he doesn't have the game figured out by this point in the season, he doesn't have the game figured out.
But that's an Alabama decision. They always do that.
They always do that. And if the quarterback, the kid, whoever feels it's unsafe, he could not play. He could not slide. He could not. I mean, this is just ridiculous. So there's not much. I've probably
he'd get in trouble, Jeff. He'd get in trouble, Jeff, if he didn't slide.
But this fascinated me that this was even allowed to go to a trial.
I'm telling you,
it was frustrating to me as a former player and a former coach.
We have a mutual friend who coaches football, little league football, rec league football.
Yes, which provides some very entertaining stories.
It's amazing stories, but it's hilarious because every kid shows up at the beginning of the year and says they played quarterback last year. And all the parents are like, well, my kid's supposed to be a skills player, not a lineman or something. And it's like, no. You do not have Tom Brady playing here.
I don't enjoy it, but when I play flag football with my brother-in-laws and some of our friends, like, it usually ends up I'm a lineman,
Jeff.
maybe an eligible lineman like a tight end because I can catch.
You're fat, man.
But I can also block well.
I know.
Same boat. I just have to deal with it. I'm not the fast, skilled player.
Same boat. I'm always on the defense. I'm always a lineman. What can I say? Some people just weren't made for those other positions, and good grief.
That's because I would show them up if I played anywhere else. So.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So, all right. We got a little time left?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Go for it. Go for it.
So we got to end on a positive note because that other one I think was ticking us both off. So if you had to guess, what would you think my perception of most NFL players is as far as their intelligence level, as far as it comes to financial decision making?
You probably think they're all Rob Gronkowski.
I just think they all
they're all just crazy party.
I mean, yeah,
making
OBJ,
it rain.
Is he wearing expensive watches? And then maybe they're fake.
Cam
was
Newton,
OBJ, right?
Cam Newton spending all his money to look like
the grandmother from Little Red Riding Hood. I don't know
exactly.
Like you got these guys just blowing money. And how many times do you hear about a player? I get it. I think we all complain about how much money they make, but they only make that much money because of how in demand they are. So that's the market.
I'm one of the few. I don't have a problem with how much they make, Jeff.
I don't necessarily either. And you got to look at that their earnings window is pretty short because of all the injuries, like we're talking about.
10 years. 10 years is the average in the NFL, I think.
And then they're done. But how many of those guys do we see that if they don't immediately get a career in the broadcast booth when they retire, they almost end up out on the street and on food stamps because they've got 4 mansions and 5 cars and all these necklaces and 3 baby mamas and they end up on the streets.
By the way, the average NFL career is 2.5 years.
Yeah, the average is only 2.5.
Yes, 2.5.
So So these guys are making all this money, but they're blowing all this money and they're not thinking about the future. And we kind of knock them for that. And unfortunately, you get the older guys who maybe are a little more established who can blow some money, and the younger guys come in and they just want to blow the money and learn bad habits. Well, here's one young guy who is establishing very good habits early on.
Okay. Tell me about this guy's habits.
So he plays for your New England Patriots.
Oh, they won today, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Beat the Eagles.
I have their defense in my fantasy league.
Well, it's probably a bad call, Jeff.
Yeah, today was probably a bad call.
I'm sorry.
They've been doing good for me, but probably not today. Joan Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I don't follow I only follow my pathetic.
It's okay.
Detroit Lions.
We all have our strange little vices, and, that's yours.
Yeah, oh man. But anyway, so Joan Williams is a rookie with the New England Patriots. He plays defense for them, but he is saving 90% of his paycheck in order to build financial freedom for himself later in his life. So, in his own words, he's going to sacrifice now for me to be happy later. He's 21 years old.
Whoa. And already has the wisdom to only... So
exactly.
How much is he getting paid? Is he getting the league minimum, $325 or whatever?
So let's see. For a 21-year-old football player, that's some serious discipline. So they selected him in the second round in the 2019
so he's good.
draft.
He's worth a lot then.
So he's got a 4-year deal worth $6.6 million.
Whoa!
And two of those years and $4.1 million are guaranteed.
Whoa.
So he's got a decent contract. I mean, he's not Tom Brady.
No.
And actually, Brady takes a lower contract so he can have stars on his team, which is just kind of smart. But he's saving 90% of that paycheck. So here's some more quotes from him.
Well, let's just be honest. He's saving 90% of half of that paycheck. Because the government takes half.
By the time the taxes and everything else. But he's saving 90% of what he makes.
Yeah.
Here's some quotes by him. So, I can go buy me a really nice car. I can go buy me a really nice house if I wanted to. I can go buy me a really nice chain, multiple chains if I wanted to. But that's not going to suffice for me for when I'm 40, 50, or 60. Who knows when I'm going to need that bread?
Wow.
In the history of this league, there's a higher chance that you'll never see a second contract.
Back to that 2.5, and some people say 3.5 years.
So he said, if you're spending so much money like, I'm going to make it back next year, I'm going to make it back the year after that. If it doesn't happen, then you're back at square zero. So
wow.
As much as we knock them for the way they live, that's pretty impressive, I would say.
So by the way, just for clarification's sake, Gronkowski never touched any of his NFL salary.
Okay, so he went that way.
Yeah, so he only burned money from his endorsements.
Interesting.
Yeah,
and saved his salary.
Yeah, he saved his salary,
invested it.
So he's investing in he's investing in CBD. Yeah,
making money.
Yeah. Oh, Gronkowski.
Some green on the green.
Did you see, by the way, Jeff, that Kraft wants him back for the playoffs?
Really?
He has not officially filed his retirement paperwork.
Interesting.
Yeah, and Kraft is like, we'd love to see him back for the playoffs this year. For a Super Bowl run.
Jason Witten retired for 1 year, found out he was not a great broadcaster, and went back to playing tight end for the Cowboys.
I don't see Gronk doing it. Gronk, he seems like he's ready to be done. Like, I love the man. Like, I have a huge man crush on him.
You got to quit before you're completely broken down.
I just wish I'd gone on a Gronkowski cruise before he retired. But that's one of my weird vices that I wish I had gone on.
The only thing I can say is, speaking of your Patriots, do you want Patricia back?
It'd be nice.
I'm done with him.
It'd be nice. It's the Belichick curse, man.
He is supposedly a defensive genius, and our defense has gotten worse under him.
It's the Belichick curse. He does it to everyone. Guys, that's all for today. www.thefrontporchshow.com. 1-402-799-1811. Check us out on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Google Play, all the places that you like to find your online content. We are there. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.